Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Raymer, and I'm the Gaming and Simulation Coordinator for the BioNetwork BioEd Center, and welcome to today's BioForum, an update on the North Carolina Research Campus in Kannapolis. Our BioForum is scheduled to run from 10:30 a.m. until approximately 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you. We're excited to have all of you meeting with us today, and at this time, I'll turn it over to our panelist, Dr. Marcy Corjay.
I'm delighted to be with you this morning, and I look forward to providing you an update on the ongoing research activities at the North Carolina Research Campus in Kannapolis. And you can see pictured here what we call the core laboratory building. There's two other major buildings on campus that we'll get a view of in a bit. I just want to start by saying the central mission of the campus is a focus on health. Very often when we hear of medical research, it's disease-associated, a cure for heart disease, a cure for diabetes, addressing the disease once it's already established. In contrast, the focus of the research campus is on improving overall health, and in many cases, as we'll hear about this morning, that involves looking at what we eat and how that can be improved upon to increase the health benefits. The overall mission is certainly captured in this slide, that by improving what we eat and the quality of what we eat, the onset of disease and the need for traditional pharmaceuticals will be lessened. Certainly in this day and age, we're all aware of the many health claims that we can read just by walking down our grocery store aisles and the popularity of associating health values with various foods. The goal of the research at the campus, the scientists are directed toward making sure that these health claims are founded in legitimate scientific studies, supported by real science. Shown here are the academic partners on the research campus. Of note, all of the major state universities are represented here on the campus. And what I'd like to do this morning is briefly overview the major research focus of each of these entities and close with a look at Rowan-Cabarrus Community College's role on the research campus. So let's start with UNC Chapel Hill. This is the home of the Nutrition Research Institute. Here, researchers are looking at nutrigenomics, and that means the effect of food on gene expression and on metabolomics. In other words, what's the resulting metabolic chemicals that are produced as a result of normal metabolism. Finding the individual nature of these and applying this knowledge to improve, for example, normal brain development through nutrition, cancer prevention of obesity, and an improved understanding of fetal alcohol syndrome are all a focus of the researchers at UNC Chapel Hill here at the research campus. NC State is the home of the Plants for Human Health Institute. Here they are pioneering a dramatic shift in the way the American public views food, in that food is not merely a source of calories and nutrients, but is also a resource for compounds that protect and enhance human health. Bioactive components in blueberries, for example. In addition, plant breeding is directed toward improving health benefits of crops. Researchers are using a multidisciplinary approach, not just using genomics to analyze what genes are expressed in plant crops, but also applying bioinformatics and a systems biology approach to obtain a meaningful analysis of what the gene expression means in relation to the nutritional benefit. Duke University is the home of the Translational Medicine Institute. A primary research emphasis is the MURDOCK Study. This is a clinical study of human volunteers. This is the only study in the world to look at a general population in an omic approach. And by this I mean genomics, looking at gene expression, proteomics, looking at protein expression, and metabolomics, looking at metabolic profiles. Like many clinical trial names, they are acronyms. And in this case, MURDOCK stands for Measurement to Understand the Reclassification of Disease of Cabarrus County and Kannapolis. And of course, it was made to correspond to the founding vision behind the research campus, and that being Mr. David Murdock. This trial is delivering on the promise of omic studies by biobanking samples of volunteers. performing omic studies and combining this with a knowledge of each individual's medical history and demographics, which will lead to improving on the way that debilitating diseases are identified and treated. The focus of the Murdock study can be seen in this next slide. Aging, arthritis, heart disease, obesity, diabetics, and the omic analysis, which will look at gene expression, protein expression, and metabolic profiles. NCANT University is the home for the Center for Excellence in Post-Harvest Technology. Here, the primary focus is on improving the quality and safety of food once it has left the farm. Among their studies are those addressing the isolation and characterization of health-promoting bioactive substances. Also, studies to improve food safety and limit blood-borne pathogens, certainly something we can appreciate the importance of, having heard about so much food poisoning recently in the U.S. press over the last several years. So food safety, of course, is a very prominent concern among many citizens, and this is something that their research is working toward addressing. In addition, they have studies underway to increase shelf life. For example, they are working on a tomato with a significantly extended shelf life. In fact, it's up to 6 months at this point. So that's pretty amazing. Tomatoes don't last very long right now. At NC Central University, they are also collaborating on studies to identify bioactive components of food and looking at their ability to impact the development of cancer and diabetes. In addition, NC Central is also the home of the Zebrafish Laboratory, and that's what's pictured in this slide. That fellow's a zebrafish there at the bottom. Zebrafish are a very popular vertebrate model, and here they are being used to look at the development of blood vessels and how that may relate to the development of cardiovascular disease. In addition, work is directed toward developing this model to effectively study bioactive food components when they are identified. So it's a great model. Once some of the other universities on campus identify bioactive substances, the zebrafish model is in place at NC Central to allow them to further elucidate how those bioactive substances may be working. UNC Charlotte houses the Center for Bioinformatics here at the research campus. The center applies bioinformatics to the discovery, development, and application of novel computational technologies to help solve important biological problems. At the research campus, the center provides specialized computer systems, software, and data management solutions and analysis for the academic researchers and also for biotechnology companies, even outside of the research campus. In this role, the center offers sophisticated computational support in the design and development of new research and technologies. As such, they represent a bioinformatics research center for those at the campus and, as I said before, even those beyond the campus. Their research focus is on applying a systems analysis to use bioinformatics data to understand gene-gene interactions. In other words, how and in what settings the expression of one gene can impact the expression of other genes. UNC Greensboro, here at the campus, is the home of the Center for Excellence in Bioactive Food Components. And this is a common theme that we've heard of many of the universities here at the campus are involved in. At UNCG, the researchers are conducting research to identify and evaluate bioactive components from food, plants, and notably traditional Chinese medicines. They are looking at these for components and their ability to prevent and treat metabolic disorders such as diabetes, obesity, and cancer. Their research uses sophisticated chemical and metabolic profiling of bioactive components in a whole biological systems approach. And so very often their studies are done looking at metabolic samples from humans, for example, urine samples, and examining what metabolic changes have occurred as a result of the intake of traditional Chinese medicines and so forth. Appalachian State University is the home of the Human Performance Laboratory. And in the photo on the left there, the bicyclists are actually in the Human Performance Laboratory. The mission of this group is to investigate the influence of unique plant molecules. And examples of these unique plant molecules are flavonoids such as quercetin and 3-gallate. The effect of these unique plant molecules on age-related loss of muscle mass, muscle mitochondrial biogenesis, which means how do muscles become more capable of activity as we exercise and work out more, how does that come about? And exercise-induced changes in immune function, such as oxidative stress and inflammation. The Human Performance Laboratory has continuous human trials underway. An example of an upcoming study will look at marathon runners and their blood vessel health. Previous studies by the Human Performance Laboratory have included the utility of chia seeds for postmenopausal weight loss. Some of you may be familiar with chia seeds from the commercials on TV, the little furry green animals that grow. Well, it turns out that there's also perhaps some health benefits associated with the consumption of those seeds, and that was a recent subject of a study by this laboratory. Let's turn now to one of the corporate partners here on the campus, and that's Dole Food Company. I'm sure you've all heard of Dole before. It's the world's largest seller of fruits and vegetables, and they have located their Dole Nutrition Research Laboratory here at the North Carolina Research Campus. And there they are studying their fruits and vegetable portfolio to identify and qualify phytochemicals, the substances in fruits and vegetables that can offer protection against disease, or they're also looking at how they can enhance the nutritional value of these foods. This research will allow Dole to produce healthier fruits and vegetables and inform decisions regarding ingredients and packaging of products, because as I said, there's also a research effort underway to look at post-harvest technology and how we can improve those important nutrients that we identify in food as they're shipped to market, improve their lifespan. Turning now to the David H. Murdock Research Institute, which as you see in the upper left-hand corner, we abbreviate with the acronym DHMRI. This institute was founded and established by Mr. David H. Murdock, who is pictured there in the center. And it serves as a catalyst for the major scientific discoveries in health and nutrition that are ongoing at the campus. It should be noted, and importantly so, that it's Mr. Murdock's vision, and he is certainly the driving force behind the campus. In fact, he has invested $1 billion of his own personal funds into the research campus. His goal in establishing the research campus overall is to accelerate breakthrough research by providing an environment where key researchers working on common problems are brought together and thereby can collaborate more easily. In addition, the DHMRI facilities and capabilities are available to private companies, universities, and government organizations located both on and off the research campus. The Institute is housed in the core laboratory building, and that was the one I opened my presentation with. It's actually the atrium and entryway of the building that is pictured to the left and right of the photo of Mr. Murdock. You can see it's quite stunning, and if you haven't seen it in person, I would certainly suggest doing so. It's really breathtaking. The DHMRI's research capabilities range from next-generation sequencing to cutting-edge confocal imaging and the world's first actively shielded 950 megahertz NMR, which is the world's largest. The DHMRI is one of the first institutes to house such a unique collection of state-of-the-art instrumentation in one central location. And again, that's going back to the vision of Mr. Murdock, that this can accelerate research by providing such extensive instrumentation in one central location. Turning now to the research focus of the DHMRI, in addition to being a service institute, they are also conducting research of their own. And as you can see on this slide, the center is involved in a very diverse range of research activities. For example, the identification of markers of diabetes in saliva, metabolites that are associated with colon cancer. They're looking at approaches to pancreatic cancer, gene therapy for heart disease, the improvement of banana production, In addition, they're looking at metabolic studies of diabetes in obese children. And they're also assisting companies in making legitimate health claims regarding food products. Recent clients for them have included McCormick, Kellogg, and General Mills. And in the next slide, a continuing look at the research activities of the DHMRI. They're also involved in genetic studies of prostate cancer. They're sequencing the blueberry genome with an eye toward improving the health benefits of this berry. And they've also engaged in genetic studies of the Hispanic community. They've also conducted various studies on black cohosh, including looking at the properties of this compound as an anti-inflammatory agent. And they're also interested in identification of nutraceuticals, in other words, food-related products that can also function as anti-malarials. I'd like to turn now, and looking at this saying here, it's a familiar expression of optimism, but it's a wonderful segue into a look at the role of Rowan Cabarrus Community College on the research campus. As many of you may know, that the research campus actually sits on the site of the former Pillowtex factory. As a result of that closure and others, the local area in which the research campus is located has found itself in need of retraining opportunities. And Rowan Cabarrus Community College is key in these retraining efforts. As shown in the next slide, Rowan Cabarrus, although it is a multi-campus facility, now has a building located on the research campus, and that's what's shown in this slide. You can see the front door of our building here at the research campus. This building houses our AAS degree program in biotechnology, and most recently our nursing program has also joined in this building. It consists of 10 laboratories, 10 general purpose classrooms, a high-tech distance learning room, as well as 3 computer classrooms that are available for the program. I'd like to turn now and take a quick look at our biotechnology faculty here because, of course, faculty are always key in any retraining effort. And I think a unique feature of our faculty here at Rowan Cabarrus Community College is that we all have industry experience. So among the 4 of us shown there, we're all PhD prepared, and in addition bring over 50 years combined of industry experience to the program. And also, as many of you may be aware, biotechnology is a very broad field, and we feel we have some coverage over that broadness in the areas in expertise for our faculty. I'm shown there on the top, and my background is in pharmaceutical research and development. Dr. Kaufman's background is in biomanufacturing. Dr. Foley's expertise is in food science, of course, a very good fit here at the research campus. And finally, the program chair, Dr. Carol Schertzinger's background is in forensic analysis and instrumentation. We felt that was very important as the campus was growing to provide that broad representation of biotechnology. I'd like to just briefly overview some of the courses that our students take in the biotechnology program, beginning with what we consider the gateway course and its basic lab techniques. And as suggested by this slide, in this course, our students learn how to operate pH meters, learn to calibrate and use micropipetters, learn to properly use analytical balances and standard balances. And again, I'd like to emphasize that we see ourselves as partnering at the research campus. Our responsibility is to prepare a workforce for employment at the research campus. As a result, our program is very hands-on. So in addition to the theoretical background, every class has a lab component to it where students get hands-on practice to the techniques that they'll need to be able to put to use when they're employed in a research laboratory. Our students also take a semester-long course in cell culture, and that's what's pictured here in both the left and right-hand side, individuals operating in a cell culture environment. Our students take an entire course in genetics, and the course starts at very classical genetics and moves all the way to more modern recombinant DNA techniques. A photo there is 3 of our students performing an analysis of some plant crosses that they've done. So again, we feel we're giving them broad preparation for employment at the research campus. Our students as an elective can also take a course in bioprocessing techniques. And finally, they also take a semester-long course in recombinant DNA. And this is, some of you may be familiar, the more traditional when we think of moving genes around or moving them into other pieces of DNA so that we can manipulate and express them. The students learn to do that in this class. In this slide is some of our students finishing up their recombinant DNA course, and I put this here because I wanted to let you all know that we also, at the end of each of our courses, have the students participate in some communication-based project at the end of the course. So here they've actually done posters to display and communicate their research. We feel that communication is a very important part of science. After all, if you're working in a laboratory and you get a result and you're unable to explain to anyone what your result is, then that's not a very good situation. So our students at the end of each course either do a poster or an oral presentation or a research laboratory report. And just this past semester, we added an analytical chemistry course, and we're very fortunate to obtain up-to-date, state-of-the-art equipment. We have a GC mass spec, a UV spectrophotometer, and so forth, which allows our students to get hands-on practice in a lot of the equipment that they will see either when they do a co-op or obtain a job at the research campus. And I just mentioned co-op. I think this is a very important feature of our biotechnology program, and is that's the possibility that students can do a semester-long internship in a lab. And shown in the next slide is where some of our students have done co-ops. You can see many of them on the research campus, but also outside the research campus. Metrolina Greenhouses, one of the largest greenhouses in the United States, has sponsored some of our co-op intern students. They're very interested in agricultural endeavors, so this is a good fit for them. They've also done co-ops at Datacolor, which is a company that analyzes pigments in paint. And so all of these skills that they learn in the program, they're ready to put to use in a co-op setting. They can do this for 10 hours a week for one semester. Just a little bit about our program. It started as a collaborative agreement with 2 other area community colleges in 2008, and at that point we had 32 students. In 2009, it was the official opening of the program here at our college campus, and we had 124 students. You'll see I have the note there that 63 were R3 or R-Cube Center clients. Some of you may be familiar with our R-Cube Center. It stands for Refocus, Retrain, Reemploy, and it's a service that operates free of charge to the clients, that provides transition counseling for those that may be unemployed or underemployed. And what we did was house the biotechnology faculty there in the R-Cube Center so that if they were interested in the program, they could speak to one of the faculty members immediately. So we felt that was a good setup that helped us to capture and see if people were interested when we experienced layoffs in this area. You can see in 2010, this is the semester, the year we occupied the building, up to 157 students, and that seems to be where we're maintaining enrollment. In 2011, most recent fall semester, we had 154 students. Looking at our graduates, because of course that's what it's all about, getting them this on-the-job or good hands-on training and getting them into the workforce. In our first graduating class, we had 9 graduates, and I'm happy to report that they are 100% either employed or have elected to continue their studies at a 4-year university. In May 2011, we had 28 graduates, and again, many of them have elected to continue their studies at a 4-year university. We even have students who have decided to pursue a PhD, which of course we're delighted about. I just want to say a little bit about our last graduating class. As many of you may be aware, the community college offers what we call developmental courses, particularly in math. These are courses designed for those students who are not ready to enter college-level courses of study. And what I think is interesting is that in spite of a program that is very math and technical skill intensive, our biotechnology graduates, 71% of them began their studies in developmental math. So I think this is a real message of hope that even if you may not be math college ready when you enter the program, there's certainly support mechanisms in place that will allow you to successfully complete the program. So we consider that a big victory here. And finally, looking at employment of our graduates, this is a listing here of some of the places where they found employment. In the upper left-hand side is a company that may not be familiar to some of you. Dendreon is actually based in Atlanta, Georgia, recruited one of our graduates and paid his moving expenses to be a research technician at their facility in Atlanta, Georgia. So that's typically not the typical community college student path to move out of the local area, but we're very pleased that that success story occurred. And you can see that they've also obtained employment at our partners here on the research campus and outside. I think most importantly, the research campus certainly hasn't developed at the rate that people had initially anticipated in light of the economy. Many things have failed to materialize as we originally hoped. But on the other hand, when there's a job opening at the research campus for an entry-level lab position, they contact us and ask for our help in identifying the best graduate for that job. So I certainly see that as a great success story, both at the research campus and for our biotechnology program. That's the end of my presentation, and I certainly look forward to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Corjay. I'm going to go ahead and load the questions that I've compiled. And to our attendees, please continue to submit your questions in the chat box. I will continue to compile those questions, and we can have Dr. Corjay answer them as they come in. That was a wonderful presentation. Again, I thank you. It really is apparent that the research campus has made a positive impact on so many people's lives. Okay, can you see those questions, Dr. Corjay? Oh, let me switch back to them.
Yes, I've got them.
You've got them. Okay, excellent. Let me go ahead and ask these to you then. Are each of the partners already or currently established within the facilities at the research campus?
Yes, they are. And unfortunately, I didn't have a picture of the other buildings in my presentation. The campus at this point consists of 2 major buildings in addition to the core lab building, and all of those entities that I went over are actively working here on the research campus and have multiple faculty members, in many cases in multiple labs, busy working on the projects I discussed.
Wonderful. And the North Carolina Research Campus would seem to have a need for a wide variety of disciplines, including greenhouse personnel, agricultural experts, scientists, technicians, and even more than that. What disciplines are we seeing hired so far, and what numbers of new jobs can we expect, in your opinion?
Yes, I agree. We certainly need a wide variety of disciplines, and it's certainly apparent when our students go out, for example, and do co-ops, how wide the variety can be. Yes, some of them are working in the greenhouses, either with NC State or, as I said, Metrolina. In addition, some are working, there's a vivarium here on campus, and some have, there's work going on there, and we've had a permanent hire into that position as well. As far as number of jobs that we can expect, I think it's been pretty steady. I'd say 10 or so per year. A lot of the positions are on soft money, so we all know the challenges associated with that, and it can be very unpredictable at times. But we've seen a lot of part-time positions transition to full-time permanent positions, which is also wonderful news. So I'm very optimistic that we are going to see some growth here. Projecting into the future, I'm not really certain number-wise.
Okay. And has there been any interaction with the Natural Products Lab and some of the other labs in Asheville?
There has been some interaction. You'll recall when I was talking about the school that's involved in the Chinese herbal medicines, particularly Dr. Wei Ji has been involved at UNCG. I know he has reached out to them, and I think they were collaborating quite well together, and I think there were some plans to look at some of the products that they actually are producing there.
Great. And it appears that there is a strong collaboration between schools having a presence at the North Carolina Research Campus. Is there a similar collaborative spirit in the food companies who stand to benefit from the research as well?
Absolutely, and I regret if I didn't highlight that enough, but for example, the sequencing capabilities that the DHMRI provides and their other high-tech services, the companies very much are benefiting from that. In addition, Appalachian State, their Human Performance Laboratory, has collaborated on some of the health claims for food companies. For example, the McCormick study that I mentioned, not only was the DHMRI involved in that, but Appalachian State was as well.
Great. And is there an effort to have nurses learn the skills for clinical trials management?
That's an interesting question, because as a community college, we've certainly looked at establishing a clinical trials program, but that effort doesn't really exist right now. I would say no, and I think that's a place where we really should look, because those are certainly skills if you look at advertisements that are in demand, and we need to complete that loop because, as I mentioned, the Murdock study, but also at UNC Chapel Hill, they have a lot of clinical trials ongoing and looking at the value of some foodstuffs and normal brain development in children, as I mentioned. So those skills are definitely going to be in demand here, and we need to work on that.
Great. And I know that you addressed your students getting jobs. Perhaps you could comment a little bit more about how important that is, and maybe expand upon that a little bit about students in the job industry.
As far as how our students get jobs, I would say yes. We've been it's worked out very well. If a job is open and it's at their level, it's filled by one of our graduates. And as I said, the entities at the research campus reach out to us when they know they're going to have an opening. And in addition, I maintain a contact list of all of our graduates, so if I'm contacted by anyone outside of the campus, I can email all of our graduates and inform them of that opportunity. Now, that most recent class we had 29 graduates. I would say we're at about 70% employment for them right now, which, given the current state of the economy and what's available, I think we're doing pretty well. But it is very important to us that our students do get employment, and we work, as I said, very carefully with them to make sure they are job ready, working on those communication skills, the soft skills that are needed in addition to the technical skills in order to be successful.
Wonderful. And our final question that we have here is, how many companies are now located on the campus?
In addition to Dole that I talked about, we also have Monsanto and General Mills. LabCorp also has a presence on the research campus. They're heavily involved in the biobanking activities that are required by the Murdock study. And right now, that represents the corporate involvement on campus.
Excellent. All right. Well, that concludes our session for today. Thank you very much. I'm sure all of our attendees are wildly applauding at their workstations. You can find out about other BioForum events by visiting our website, ncbionetwork.org. Please mark your calendar for our next BioForum Automation Troubleshooting Training offered on March 22nd beginning at 1 p.m. Registration for this event is free and available online at ncbionetwork.org. I would like to thank our panelists for today, Dr. Marcy Corjay. We really appreciate it. Thanks also to North Carolina BioNetwork for making this presentation possible. And thanks to you for your time and participation. This concludes our webinar. On behalf of BioNetwork, thank you and have a great day.